Hi everybody, Mike's here. Welcome back to Mike Loves Fanfic. You've seen the last video of showing you guys my next trick. Well, you guys, the first fic that I will be a one shot. The first one shot that I'm gonna be reading. And the first one shot that I will be reading, it's called, I'm gonna pull up my screen to share with. For that, we'll get to that, okay? We'll get to this. So, this is the fic that I am dealing with right now. So this right here is the fic that I have been dealing with. This is called "Of the Sun's Pining in the Mother's Sky." So this is a rated T. It's a canon verse. It's a post season 7. So it's a after what season 7 before we're into the season 8. And it's pining. And the summary for this one is Keith can hide his crush on Lance from his mom. Now, after him and Crowley spent 2 experiencing visions of the past and her, still they never spoke of it, and the topic faded to memory. Until now that Earth is momentarily safe and they have time to relax, Crowley takes it upon herself to push her son in the right direction. All it takes is a little shove to get them going. So yes, this right here, this is exactly what I'm going to be dealing with right now. Because this is just after season 7, all that stuff is just getting through in their head. Are you ready to read this first one shot? I hope so. Okay, let's get started. 2 years is a long time, and while Keith is grateful for the time he is able to spend with his mom, while he's grateful for getting to experience her past and sharing his, while he's grateful for that understanding that brought them closer, a clear line on the belt. There are things they were willing to talk about. There were things they were not. He didn't ask for details of the things she had been forced to do while uncovering among the old. And she didn't question why a lot of Keith's fonder memories involved a lot of staring at one blue paladin. Neither of them brought up to the fact that he also stared in several of Keith's future visions. Neither of them brought it up, but Keith got the same feeling that his mom wanted to. Coriolis wanted. Coriolis would give him these looks whenever a vision faded, a soft look, one not quite of pity, but of sympathy, compassion. He busied himself elsewhere, but he knew that she knew. She's smart, she's intuitive, and she's observant. She didn't, however, press him for details. Then things got hectic. All tense, getting back to the team, confronting Lotor, Shiro, the castle, Earth. It's been chaotic. It's been the moment of constant momentum. Forward, forward, push, go, go, go. No time to stop. No time to think. No time to digest what he feels. No time to analyze or no time to analyze it or figure it out. He had other things to do, arguably more important things. He hasn't had a moment to breathe, and that's fine. It's easier this way. It's like ignoring what he feels so much as he's just letting it fall to the wayside while he's busy. And in that time, Cora hasn't broached the subject either. In fact, he must have forgotten what he, in fact, he had most have forgotten that she knew it at all. He's only reminded whenever Lance is in the room and catches her watchful eye and knowing smile. He's been busy. They all have. But they're not busy now, not by comparison. He has time to read now, and he doesn't know how to confront the things he feels. They've been pushed aside for so long now. He's never had to confront his more delicate emotions. He had hoped they would simply go away, dissipate into something less, something more manageable, but they haven't. If anything, they've grown. He's so wrapped up in his own misery of it that he doesn't realize what Kroya is doing until it's too late. Right now, okay, so it's been 2 years since this season 7 happened, and dealing with Lotor, the old castle, then all of Obtain. And then Keith and Croya were bonding each other for a long time as a mother and son, and all the attacks and everything that you saw already in season 7 of Ultron. So if you have watched season of Ultron, yeah, please do so. If you have not, what are you doing? You're way falling behind right now. And it's been 3 years since this series ended. So you gotta catch up. Okay, so let's move on. It starts out simply things that could be a complete coincidence if it weren't for the knowing sparkle deep in her eyes and the tilt of her lips that makes her eyes crinkle at the edges. Lance, she says when the boy comes rushing into the meeting room, half bent over, hand on his side as he catches his breath, babbling near incurrently about sorry I'm late. I was with Rachel, Marco, we lost track of time, and then Cora stands from her seat, taking Keith by surprise. He raises an eyebrow, but her eyes are on Lance, smiling kindly as he pulls her chair out in a clear offering. You can have my seat. Cleet blinks, eyes wide into surprise before his gaze moves lands. He strains slowly, lips still parted as he pants, his brow pinched, looking wildly uncertain. Are, are you sure? Keep follows his gaze. There are no more seats at the table. Those who arrived too late stand. Lance looks back at Corlia, small smile on his lips, feeling confidence and bravado. I don't mind standing, really. It's my fault, anyway. Nonsense. Cora steps to the side, gesturing forward. Her tone is one not to be argued with, and Key doesn't know that comes from growing up with a girl from some inherent mom trait. Take a seat. Her smile is kind, breaking through her naturalistic demeanor. The palace should stay together, answered. Well, if you insist. I do. She steps aside, taking up a standing position somewhere near the back of the room. Hand dropping Keith's shoulder to squeeze reassuringly as she passes. It's a natural interaction. It's a casual suggestion. It's one that no one thinks about twice. Croy isn't the only one who would give up her seat for a paladin of Voltron, especially if it meant letting them sit together. They don't need to, but Keith thinks the people here find it somewhat comforting to see them all together. Still, Keith feels warm pull beneath his collar as Lance slips into the next seat next to him. Into the seat next to him, sorry. Still, Keith feels warm pull beneath his collar as Lance slips into the seat next to him. He feels that heat itch and crawl beneath his skin, threatening to climb up his neck. Then Lance catches his eye as he adjusts his seat, leaning toward him with a lopsided grin on his lips, a playful glint in his eye. He winks, and he doesn't know what that means, but it adds his chest tightening all the same. Looks away, lips pursing to a small frown as he tries to calm his accelerating heart rate. He can only hope the losing battle with his blush isn't as obvious as it feels. The meeting is uneventful and, quite frankly, boring. It's a formality more than a necessity. They talk about the state of things, how things are progressing, and how their plans for building Earth back up are going. Little, if anything, has changed since last week. He finds his mind wandering. He tries to stay focused, he really does, but he can't smell the faint coconut in the midst of Lance's body wash or shampoo or lotion or whatever. He doesn't know, but it smells nice. Lance rotates his chair back and forth, humming gently under his breath as he listens to the proceedings, nodding occasionally. The movement in the corner of his eye is distracting, but not nearly as much as the way Lance's elbow gently swipes past his upper arm at every pass. It sends electricity through his veins and riddles his skin with goosebumps. Instead of pulling away, he leans to it just slightly, just barely, and hopes Lance doesn't notice. Lance's finger taps at the table, and when he gets a few tired looks from those around him, he slouches in his seat, hand moving beneath the table to tap on his leg. He frowns at his sheepishness, at his shame. It tastes sour on his tongue. He reaches over, whispering to Hum and asking if he can borrow a piece of paper and a pen. He's surprised, but doesn't say anything. Simply tears out a couple pages silently as he can and slides them the key, along with a pen. Before he can question it, before he can think too hard about it. Keith scratches four crossing lines, forming a grid, draws an X in the center, setting the pen down on the page. He slices the lance. He waits, staring straight ahead. Iverson is giving his reports, and Key watches as he gestures to the display screen of new buildings being put up, workers of several races working together. He can barely hear him, however, over the sound of his heart's racing in his ears. One hand rests on the table, bringing out tapping it steadily. His foot balances under the table, and one hand rests on his thigh, rubbing his thumb against the curve of his index finger, and waits. He waits and watches as Lance freezes in his perfect vision. He waits and watches as a hand reaches out, grabs the pen. The paper slides back, nudging Keith's hand, glances down to see an O drawn to the upper right corner of the grid. He smiles, just a small curve of his lips that slips past the fences. But he feels it lifts his cheeks all the same. Where it stays between them throughout the entire meeting. So being covered in tic-tac-toe boards and games of hangman, notes and commentary, and teasing scribbled out in the spaces between. By the end of the meeting, his cheeks ache. Lance bumps playfully into him as they leave, and Keith catches his mom's knowing smile from across the room. We kind of get into somewhat sort of meeting, and now he doesn't focus anything on the enemy at all. He just staring at Lance and going back and forth and playing some of the games. Wow, this meeting is totally useless. A board meeting. Very boring. After years of training with a sword, after 2 years of training exclusively with Koya in body and mind, he has gotten better about slipping past her guard, and it doesn't happen often. His mom has years on him as a specially trained soldier in a war-mongering race, but he has his moments. Moments where he can read her movements, when his instinct and ingenuity surprise her. When he can use raw speed and small size to slip past her defenses. They keep each other on their toes, constantly watching and waiting for openings, and sometimes Keith is able to find the gaps in every defense. Today is not one of those days. His Bayard slips against her blade, arm floors wide, a knee hits his thigh, carrying through to twist his body and knock him off his feet. He lands on the floor on his chest, wind knocked clean out of him. He whizzes, body going limp in defeat as Corlia's knee presses into his back and her blade comes down by his ear. His eyes, grin to see as he drops his forehead to the floor. It's cold against his sweat-soaked skin. He taps the ground with his free hand. You're leaving your right flank unguarded. I'm not. You're just used to getting past this. You're getting lazy. He grits his teeth, hand curled into a fist, and turns to glare over his shoulder. I am not. The coach is smiling. A teasing light to her eyes that's easy to miss if one doesn't know her. You've been distracted lately. He doesn't know what she's implying, but he can hear it in her voice, and it makes heat crackle in his chest, rising up the back of his neck. What are you? The claps are slow and steady, echoing loud and sharp in the otherwise empty train deck. Keith's head whips around, eyes widening as he sees Lance making his way over to them. He pays casual and steps lightly. His stride is long but casual, but it shows off the tilt of his broad shoulders and the length of his long legs, and narrows Keith narrows his eyes, lips pressing to what is definitely okay. Keith narrows his eyes, lips pressing into what is definitely not a pout. He's scowling. He's definitely scowling. What are you doing here? And Anne's grin is wide and blinding. Keith blames the bright artificial light. Apparently, I'm here to watch your mom kick your ass. Keith feels a new kind of heat. One of the embarrassment and shame, full in his chest. He doesn't get far. He knows Lance doesn't mean it. You can tell from the curve of his lips and the sparkle in his eyes that he doesn't begin to last of Keith for it. But damn, getting disarmed and shoved to the floor by his own mom isn't exactly a great way to impress him. Not that he wants to impress Lance. The way the Croy's knee moves from his back to Keith's sides, pushing himself up onto his hands and knees, leans back, settling his weight on his calves and heels. There is a moment of blue and white and black, and suddenly Lance is squatting in front of him, balancing on his toes, elbows resting casually on his eyes. His head is tilted to the side. Eyes crooked at the edges at his smirk curls at one side of his lips. Keith stares at him, heart stuttering in his chest, and brain temporarily short-circuiting as Lance reached out. Fingers playfully tugging at Keith's messy ponytail. Uh, eloquent. Cool. His picture he's gapping. Great. Nice ponytail. Lance says it like he's teasing. But there's a softness of his voice and a fondness that does terrible things in Keith's chest. Jarred back to his senses, he scowls, ignoring the heat that rushes to his face as he slaps Lance's hand away. What are you doing here, Lance? He asks again, pushing himself to his feet as Lance does the same. He shrugs, hip cocked out to the side, one hand perched on it while the other gestures baby. To train? This is a training room, he leads a bro. But I invited him. He whips around, eyes narrowing at his mom's casual smile. Small and far too innocent. She steps around Keith, coming to Lane's side and laying a hand on his arm. I overheard him talking with the others about his baby's broadsword form. Apparently, he hasn't been able to practice with it. Keith's gaze slides to Lance. He's looking away, off to the side in a way that might be natural, if it weren't for the supple curves of his lips and lowering of his eyes. Is Lance blushing? You have a broadsword form? I I didn't know that. Lance shrugs again, rolling his head. It's no big deal. I haven't needed it, so no one's really seen it much. It's not it's not said like Keats expects. With bravado and confidence, tipping on the razor's edge of pride and bragging. Instead, it's mumbled. Forced nonchalance. Almost shy. It makes Keith's chest ache. I was thinking you could help him train, Crow continues, already moving away from the two of them. Her memorial blade shrinks and she slides it into place on her belt. Wait, Keith takes a step forward. Mind catching up to the moment. Where are you going? You don't need me, she says, lifting a hand over her shoulder as she makes for the exit. You can almost hear the amusement in her voice as she says, Good luck, boys. And then he's left alone with Lance. Lance won't make eye contact with him, who is shuffling his feet and shifting his weight, who hasn't even taken out his VR and is biting his lips. Taking a subtle breath, letting out slowly, he lifts his VR, seamlessly sinking into the defensive stance. All right, well, let's see what you got. Lance blinks, finally looking at him, surprise colored by a dash of hope and a spark of excitement. Really? Keith hates that he sounds so breathless, that his heart flutters at the sound of it. Hates the adrenaline giddiness that buzzes his system at the look Lance is giving him. Hates how it overpowers his senses. He blames for the way his lips curl to a playful smirk as he says, If you manage to beat me, I'll buy you dinner. At that, Lance grins. The spark in his eye is deadly. It feels like a punch to Keith's chest, forcing the air from his lungs. Lands with confidence, determination on the features, and the challenge of the curve with raw grit. Oh, you are so on! It summons his bear, and the flash reveals the long red blade of broadsword. And when Keith's heart refuses to calm, he blames it on the plane of metal on metal, and the thrill of the fight instead of the way Lance laughed crinkles his eyes and echoes in his chest. Okay, so Proya invited Lance, practice, and Keith was surprised that this would be like a bonding between Lance and Keith, and then practice each other about their bayards and the broadsword form or something. But that's how it is. So Proya doesn't need Lance, doesn't need Keith because Keith has Lance. So he has, well, he'll get used to it. He'll get used to it. 277, 278, 279. He hears the door to the lounge slide open, but his eyes never move from the ceiling tiles. 280, 281, 282. Keith? It's his mom. He sees her move to his preparation. Sits silent on the arm of the couch. 283, 284, 285. What are you doing? Cutting ceiling tiles? And why are you doing that? He shrugs, feeling the drag of his shirt against the couch cushions. He's lying on his back, stretched across it, one leg bent and leaning against the back of his couch, while the other hangs off the edge to rest on the floor. Cosmo takes up most of the couch, having sits and leaning on top of it, head resting on his chest. It makes it harder to breathe, but Keith would be lying if he said he didn't appreciate the company. He stares at the ceiling, trying to lose himself in the numbers. His fingers idly card through Cosmos' fur. It's confident and grounding. 286, 287, 288. Why aren't you with your friends? She asked, gentle but still prodding. Short skin. 289, 290. It's not a shameful thing to want to be with him. Him. She said him, not them. He lifted his head, eyes diving to her. Who? She meets his gaze steadily, expression almost bland. Lance. He hopped aside, letting his head drop back to the couch. I don't want to be with him. He's the last person I want to be with. Hmm? I don't. Okay. You don't believe me. No, and neither do you. He sighs again, frustration hissing through his teeth. She's right. She doesn't believe in himself. Truth is, he does want to be with Lance right now, more than anything. He doesn't even care what they do. He just wants to be around him. He feels better in his presence and bask in those casual touches he gives out so freely. The problem is, the problem is that without an excuse like training or being invited, he has no reason to be with Lance. 200 and where was he? What is he doing right now? I don't know. Is he busy? I don't know. Why don't you go find him? Ask him if he would like to hang out. Giving up on the tiles, he groans, lifting his hand from Cosmo's fur to dig the heels of them into his eyes. I don't know how. It's simple. Last time I got tongue-tied, panicked, and insulted his outfit. Wilhelm softly, but his underlying amusement there that she can't quite hide. I see. You're laughing at me, he accuses. And this time she does laugh, a gentle chuckle under her breath. When he lifts his hand to glare at her, he finds her staring at the ground. There is a soft smile on her lips and a distant look in her eyes. Not at you. You're just far more like me than I ever imagined. How's that? She glanced up at him sidelong, smile curling wider, wistful and amused. We're not people words. We do far better with action. We deny ourselves that what we want if we convince ourselves it's the easiest option. His eyes trailed back to the ceiling, hands resuming petting when Cosmo whines. Ignoring it is easier, he mumbles. Perhaps love's certainly difficult, but it's definitely worth it in the end. Keith's head shoots up, eyes wide as he gapes at her. He glared into his face. It's not love. She raised her brow, nonplussed. Isn't it? No, he drops his head again, scowling stubbornly at the ceiling. He doesn't know. He didn't think it was, but maybe he is. How is he supposed to know? All he knows is that he cares for Lance. He cares for him. Feels good when he has his attention. Aches when he's not around him. Feels more confident with him at his back. He doesn't know if that's love, but it's something. It's something that feels so similar to how he feels for the others, but so wholly different. Something special. Keith, I remember the things we saw in the quantum abyss. I know how you feel about him. How long you've watched him. Keith purses his lips, but says nothing. We can't deny it. He knows she's seen it. Knows that she knows. I also remember the visions we saw of the future. She says it gently, but firmly. And a matter of fact, but still carrying away that he likes about her. We don't know what those mean, he argues. They were vague at best, and just because he was in them doesn't mean we don't know what it means. No, we don't, she agrees. But he doesn't feel like he's won. He knows there's more coming. But we do know that he's still part of your life in the future, a very big part, judging from how often he featured. And your feelings for him don't fade, judging from how you were looking at him. Keith sighs, long and loud and deep. Charlotte opens a groan that rumbles in his chest. He feels like he's been doing a lot of that lately. Sighing. He's a broken record, he knows it. Drawing one arm around Costa's neck, he drags a hand down his face, running fingers through his own hair to pull up the strands. I don't know what to do. Talk to him. You make it sound so simple. She smiles, knowing amused and secret. It is. I don't even know how to approach him, or where to find him, or what to say to him if I do find him. She nods, reaching over to run her hand down Constance's back. He lifts his head, turning to look at her and leaning into the touch as she scratches behind his ears. I believe in your ability to find something to talk about, or rather, land stability to guide you. There's teasing there, and he rolls his eyes, muttering dry. Thanks. They can't quite keep the smile off his face. I know how you can find him. He looks up at her, eyes. It just smirks in a way that's far too sly and far too sharp. Before it can question her, she leans forward, scratching under Cosmo's chin. Cosmo, take heed to Lance. His eyes widen, panic spelling in his chest. Wait, no! But there's a flash of light, and a brief moment of feeling strange and displaced. Before he's weightless, his sound drops as he falls, and a brief shout chokes in his throat. It's mingled with a higher pitched, surprised shriek. He lands heavily and lands left, heat consuming his face, with a very large, very heavy, and very proud space wolf on top of them both. They stare at each other for a long moment, and Keith can feel tension building in his chest, fear cold in his veins, and embarrassment hot in his gut. But then Lance smiles, and the absurdity of the situation, of how quickly his fear melts to get a relief, bubbles out of Keith in a laugh. Okay, so this is where like the mother and son situation between Cordelia and Keith doesn't know, finding Lance and doesn't know how to say anything about him or what to say to him. So Keith's just he doesn't know what to do. His mom helps out to give him some advice and feeling of what are you dealing with this situation when you have this pinning. That's the purpose of pinning. So you've seen a lot of it, and it's just the purpose of that. So that's probably get it along with those. So this is what the this one shot's about. So good. And again, there's no sequel or anything like that. This is just one big whole story. It's just the entire story, nothing else. Okay, let's get back to this. It's after that when Croy's meddling starts to get bolder. He's walking down the hallway of the garrison when she finds him. He's not moving with much urgency, eyes down a tablet in his hand, reading some of the documents she was sent to him to look over about the migration and integration of some of the alien refugees into their society. It's altogether boring, but he knows he has to. Besides, she'll ask him personally, and like hell he's going to let him down. The hallway is empty. It's time of day where most people are busy, in the lounge or in the mess halls for lunch. He enjoys the peace of the garrison during those times. But due to its emptiness, he's able to hear the quick, brisk steps approaching. He looks to find Cordelia, hands behind her back and standing tall, as she does, though her pace is quick. There doesn't seem to be much urgency about her. She slows when she nears him, and he realizes with a warm start that she had been looking for him. He lowers the tablet a few inches, small smile touching his lips, and a sheepishness entering his heart as he says, Hey, Mom. Her steps falter, just barely expressing registering for surprise, which is a brief second before it melts to something softer. Hello, Keith. What are you doing? He holds out the tablet with her. Just looking for some reports for Shiro. Do you have a moment to spare? Sure. Excellent. He's not sure what he's expecting, but it's not for her to move a bouquet of flowers from behind her back and unceremoniously shove them into his hands. He takes them without thinking. Mind blanking stares at the bundle she left in his arms. They're flowers? He looks up at her, blinking in his confusion. Her smile is small and fond, eyes crooked and narrowing in that subtle way they do when she's amused. Astute observation. He blinks and looks back down the flowers, getting a better grip on the bouquet with one hand to hold them away from his chest. They're pretty enough, he supposes. He's never been one of the bouquet, but he is a fan of flowers. He just prefers them in nature. Still, they're pretty. Five pale petals that fade to purple in the center, a yellow middle. Five pale petals around it and soft, and five more jut out from behind them. Sharper in shape, larger and purple in color. It gives them another dimension of the shape. Pretty unique, he thinks, but doesn't explain why she gave them to him. You got me flowers? He tries again. In a way, it's creeping enough for him to look up at her. Eyes narrowing as suspicion begins to creep in. Her smile widens, just a fraction. Barely anything if he didn't know her well enough. After a brief moment of silent staring, she continues, they're for you, to give to Lance. Just as he was starting to regain his wits, his mind blanks again, straight to radio silence. A distant buzz in his ears. Lance? She nods, reaching forward to put a finger beneath his chin, lifting it to close his mouth. He hadn't even realized it had dropped open. They're called Columbine flowers. They're his favorites. His brows furrow, eyes narrow as she reaches up to fiddle with his hair. How'd you know that? She shrugs, smile crooked as she says, I'll listen. He opens his mouth to reply, but his words die in his throat as he hears a familiar voice echoing down the hall. Too far to make out the words, but it's a voice that he wouldn't know anywhere. The fast beats of running footfalls. His eyes widen, flickering from down the hall to Chloe's face. He feels the panic grip at his chest, but she just smiles. Her hands come down his shoulders, squeezing gently. You can do this, she says softly, and then she's walking away, continuing past him down the hall, leaving him floundering. Lance comes sprinting around the corner ahead, turning down the hall toward him. That overlap on his lips, head turns to look over his shoulder. When he turns back around, his eyes snap to Keats immediately, and he knows he looks like a deer in the headlights. Surprise melts Lance's wild grin, and he slows as he approaches, coming to a stop in front of him. Hey, Keith, what you doing? His smile is still there, but it's tender, hesitant. His eyes kept flickering from the flowers in Keith's hand to his face, and the emotion behind him is unreadable. Or at least, Keith is having a hard time placing it when his own brain's currently scrambling to reboot. What are you doing? He counters, but more reflects than anything. Trying to buy himself time to gather himself. Land's mouth brightens a little, back straightening as he glances over his shoulder. Playing a game of tag with Pidge. Keith is genuine amusement, spark and bubble in his chest, quirking the corner of his lips in fondness. You pranked her and now you're running away? Yep, he says, popping the P sound and turning back with a little joke. His eyes fall back on the flowers. Smile fading just a fraction. Someone giving you flowers? There's something in his voice that sounds off, something he doesn't like. He blames it for the way he flirts. They're for you. It comes out in a rush. Words tripping over themselves. He thrusts the bouquet into Lance's chest, forcing him to take hold of them. He ducks his head, spins on his heel, and storms away. His limbs feel rigid. His face feels like it's on fire. His heart is bruising the inside of his ribs, making him feel lightheaded and dizzy. He can't believe he just did that. It must have looked like an idiot. He can't believe Keith. There's a hand on his wrist, yanking him to stop. He freezes, turning to glance back at Lance, and overwhelmed sheepishness telling him to hide behind his fringe. He's afraid of what he'll see, but he shouldn't be. Lance is smiling, small and fun, shy in a way that has Keith's heart skipping several beats and lodging in his throat. Lance isn't looking at him. His eyes are on the flowers in his hand, face half hidden behind them as he mumbles, Thanks. And when he looks up, there's a twinkle of mischief in his eyes that makes Keith dizzy. Want to help me hide from Hitch? Keith finds himself smiling. Lance own infectious as always. Sure. So yeah. So this is the next part that start painting flowers. So Prolia picked up the bouquet of flowers and gave it to Key. No, just to give those flowers to Lance and yeah. And Lance was out of nowhere running because he pranked Pitch from down and then he wanted to give the flowers to Lance. Lance really likes flowers so much. So said thanks and then wanted to help out with the hide, playing hide and seek and such for Pitch. So yeah, I mean, really good relationship out there. It's just a painting relationship. So it's a good way. Good way to start there. He's dripping a state of semi-consciousness when he hears it. A soft whoosh of door sign open. Sign close. The soft shuffle of shoes on tile. Clearly trying to be quiet, but getting closer and closer. It draws him out of his hazy state, where sleep hadn't yet claimed him, but habit tugged him gently down, down, down. He cracked his eyes open. Vision blurred and gaze lit as he tilts his head to glance across the room. Lance reaches the moment Keith looks at him. Comically frozen in position mid-step, shoulders hunched and arms outstretched as if for balance. Over the impression it might make his steps lighter. He isn't sure. It's cure out of it. They stare at each other for a long moment. Lance looked panicked, but Keith does nothing but look slowly. Eventually, he relaxes, slowly straightening and shoving his hands into his pockets. Uh, hey, buddy? Hey. His voice struck with force, deep and stirring, disused and nearsy. He watches with a fixed shade fascination of Lance Adams Applebaum. What you doing? He asked, sounding genuinely curious, but something's off. His eyes dart around the room, even as he slowly edges his way closer to where Keith is lying on the couch. Keith shrugs, letting his eyes drift close to his arm. You kind of disappear on us. Another shrug, a sigh on his lips. It was loud. I need the moment alone. It's been a loud lately, loud and busy. He doesn't mind it necessarily. There are times when he needs to just step back. Moments where all gets to be a little too much and a little overwhelming, where he has to step back, breathe, and decompress. No, uh, I can go. No! His eyes snap open immediately. Cousin lands to freeze once more. He's closer to the couch now, surprisingly close. Near hovering over where Keith lays, arms draped across the middle and feet dangling over his arms on the couch. No! He repeats softer, clearing his throat and look at me. I don't mind your company. And it doesn't, not really. As loud and exuberant as Lance is, he's never actually draining, not from Keith. Lance's face looks a shade darker as he breathes. Oh, and then right into the grin. Okay then. He has closed his eyes as he feels heat crawling up his own neck. The couch shifts as Lance sits next to him. Close. Very close. Too close for casual, he thinks. But that could just be wishful thinking. He's sitting right next to where Keith's head is resting. Close enough that Keith can feel his thigh brush along a few strands of wayward hair, making his skull prickle. Lance hums. Keith can hear his fingers illly drumming on the back of the couch. Back home was always crazy loud and crazy hectic. Happens when you have a big family like mine. You know where I always used to go to steal some peace and quiet? Keith hums his question and his acknowledgement. It doesn't go unnoticed that Lance has lowered his voice and softened the tone. An easy cadence is making his eyes feel happy again. The beach. He can hear the smile in his voice. Lance was nostalgic and melancholy. Man, there's no place more peaceful than the sunset on Veradero Beach. He keeps talking, low and constant, telling his favorite aspects of the beach and the ocean, riddled with anecdotes and memories. He listens, but it doesn't take long before his mind wanders. Lance's voice is soothing, and it makes him back towards the semi-conscious state of half sleep. He can already feel the tension of the day seeping out of him. replaced by a pleasantly warm buzz. Keith? Soft and gentle. He hums, or at least he tries to. He's not sure if it vocalizes. Keith? Fingers touch his hair. Hesitant at first and gain confidence, Keith is slow to react. And it takes a moment to realize what's happening. For it to really sink in that Lance is carding his fingers through Keith's hair. He stops, and the fingers still. But as Keith forces himself to relax, Lance continues his ministrations. It sounds now. He's no longer talking. He keeps basically keeping carding his fingers through, detangling his hair, brushing away from his face. Blunt nails scratch at his skull, forcing at the sensitive spot on his ear. Distantly, he realizes he should feel something. Though he's not sure if it's embarrassment or joy or any combination between. Lance is playing with his hair, and he distantly recognizes this should be considered a big deal. Right now, however, he's far enough gone, body heavy and mind hazy, that he simply allows himself to enjoy it. He tilts his head, giving Lance better access to the spot he's scratching. That's why it feels really, really good. Makes him melt and shivers run down his spine and a deep rumbling starts in his chest. Oh my god! He hears Lance whisper. It's true. His eyes open then, lazy and lidded, and it takes a considerable amount of effort to do so. But there's something about that. Something that feels off. Meets Lance gaze and the boy reads. Your mom said if you're relaxed and I scratch on your ears, you'll purr. I thought she was messing with me, but it's true. He huffs, running his best to scowl, but the rumble in his chest never stops and Lance's grin never fades. Truthfully, though, he can't bring himself to be mad, while his mom's smelling can be tiresome. He's in no position to look at gift course in the mouth. Instead, he simply closes his eyes and allows himself to enjoy this moment, as long as Lance is willing to indulge. But as he feels drifting, sleep clinging heavily to his body, rumble of his own purring soothing, and a constant scratch of Lance's nails grounding him. Something sticks in his mind. Something catches. A wayward thought drifting past that simply snags and holds long enough for him to look at it, examine it. Hey, Lance? His tongue feels sharp, voice heady. Hmm? Have you seen the sunset over the canyons? Nope. Do you want to? A pause. Fingers stealing for just a moment before they dig in deeper. Running through his hair and tugging behind his ear. Voice impossibly soft as it drips through his haze. I like that. So yeah, this is but feel the same. When they finally feel it, Lance feels like the back of his neck, it kind of purrs down and oh, he just finally feels relaxed. And I was like, wait, I could have done this before. Lance is like, hold on, I could have done this before. I should have had this a long time ago and not realizing that, hey, I can probably make this out of it or such. But that sums up the whole thing, you know? Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's get this last part and then we're done. Okay? Wait. Lance hisses, grabbing Keith's arm and pulling him back around the corner. They dive back into the shadows, just a couple of officers walk past, talking illy between themselves. Keith lets out a breath as they pass, turning to glance at Lance. They're close. Lance hands still in his arm and sides press against one another. You've done this before. Lance held his head, coy smirk on his lips and glint in his eyes. I may have snuck out of here once or twice. They hurried through the halls, thinking past those they find lingering around. He realized that they probably don't need to sneak. They're not exactly cadets in lockdown anymore, but it feels good. It feels exciting. He likes to imagine if things had been different. Maybe there would have been a couple of cadets sneaking out for a joyride. I'll keep an eye out. Lance as Keith leads him across the large garage, heading toward one of the hover bikes parked near the open doors. No need, he jumps, landing a foot on the wing before swinging the other over the seat, dropping down easy into place. It won't take that long. Lance scoops, handing on his hips. You don't even have keys. He's caught up. The engine rumbles slight. However, engine swirling. as the bike lifts off the ground. Lance blinks, face blank for a moment, in his pride before he looks up, lips curl into a slow smile. You've done this before. Keats first, feels it coil across his lips with mischievous cockiness, feels confident and leans down, hold out hand. I may have hot-wired a couple garrison vehicles once or twice. Lance's hand feels warm in his, large and calloused, fingers long and dexterous. Pulls tight, using Keat as leverage as he jumps up on the wing. Lets go only when he has to drop into the seat behind him. Arms slide around his waist. The chest presses to his back. Thighs to cage in his hips. Lance is warm and firm against him, sliding into place like he belongs there. The chin hooks over his shoulder, a breath hot on his neck, a voice low in his ear, light and playful. Not a lot of time before sunset, he revs the engine, turning toward the open air. We can make it. He feels the curve Lance mount as he presses against his neck. Let's see how fast the thing can go. He shoots out the garage at full speed, pushing the speeder to its limit, taking corners sharply and easily, very slow for terrain and obstacles as he weaves past garrison, equipment, and soldiers alike. It's only moments before they're out in open desert, wind tugging at their clothes and tearing through their hair, leaning forward into it. Lance pressed into his back and arms wrapped tight around his waist. No one tries to stop them, and Keith has a sneaking suspicion that his mom has a hand in that too. He'll have to thank her later for everything. But right now, he's got a date with a cute boy in the sunset. All right, and that is that for that one shot. So yeah, King had done everything right now that he taught by his mother, Crolia. So thanks to her, now he finally has a date to go to with Lance and enjoying the sunset and such. So hooray for Keith for getting into the right place. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for reading this. I know, again, this is a one shot. It's only going to take around like about an hour or so. So this might be a good time for you to compute and reading this. It's pretty much thing. Oh, right. I'm going to get into the next one. So now that we finished this one of the Sun's Finding Minus Guiding, let's see which one is going to be my next one. Also, I'm gonna pull out the NSFW. So here comes the next one. Well, here will be coming another one. First, we'll deal with the next one, which will be what's gonna be the next one shot that I'll read. So here we go. And yep, it's You Got Me Like Swords. All right, so okay, so we've done Sounds My God of a Sun's Pining and a Mother's Cutting. Got it. And then You Got Me Like Swords is before the chapter 10. So right now we're in between here. We're in between these two, and then that's what's way before. That's back in the front. Okay. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So yeah. Next one I'm gonna be reading will be You Got Me Like Swords. That it will be one of our regular. And then I'm gonna pick now for the NSW. I have another wheel for the NSW. So it's 8, and I'm gonna pick one of them. So here we go. Ooh, ooh, got almost like that. So yeah, you got me like a blizzard. That will be the next one. That will be the first one for NSW effect. Okay, let me move this around. Sorry about that, folks. So yeah, you got me like a blizzard. So this right here. Oh, ho, ho. It's just a typical relationship, and now we're into these ones. So there's gonna be a lot of explicit stuff. So be warned. So I'm gonna give you guys a little warning that I'm gonna read this, and it's gonna be the NCW. So yeah, we'll just have to remind you guys that be careful. There's gonna be a lot of NCW things, so might as well have to deal with that one. Okay, so those will be the next ones. So yeah, so yes, what's next for the shots? We have the NCW called Becoming Like a Blizzard. That will be this one, and Becoming Like Swords. That's a fighting in trains. Okay, well, that is it for today. I will see you guys next time. Okay, goodbye, everyone.